What's going on, Halo fans? LukeTheNotable here. In this video, we are going to be dissecting the Halo campaigns, and we're going to be trying to figure out which difficulty Master Chief plays on. And no, I don't mean if Master Chief picked up an Xbox controller and started playing through his own games. He'd probably be pretty good, though. He has enhanced reflexes and all those other things. Though Cortana in his head would be a little distracting. But which difficulty across all of the Halo games is the canon difficulty? The difficulty that, say, a hypothetical Master Chief playing through all of these things would actually have to face. Basically, I'm going to answer which Halo difficulty is the truest to the lore. Which Halo difficulty would you have to play through to get the experience that the Spartans may have had fighting the Covenant? We'll be going over a lot of different evidence from the main games, cutscenes, as well as the extended Halo lore novels, so there's going to be a lot of information in this video. If you'd like to learn more about the extended Halo lore, you can click the link in the description to get real acquainted with an audiobook from Audible. And fellas, the ladies love a man who pretends to read. Hey, so did you hear I got an Audible subscription?
What are you doing?
Before we get really started into this video, I just want to shout out General Kid. He made a video about which Halo difficulty is the most canon. He also makes tons of other cool stuff that you should definitely go check out. I've posted his channel in the link in the description. I mean no disrespect in this video, and I'm just trying to open the discussion further. I also want to thank DLGG for inspiring me to make this video, and he also helped out with some research. This is something that I've considered discussing for a very long time on this channel. You see, what makes Halo different from a lot of other games out there is Halo has all of this expansive lore, but nothing really solid to tie it all together. Halo not only has its games, but also comic book series, full novels, and all sorts of things that add into its lore. But even the Halo community isn't entirely sure what holds this all together, what keeps the constant stream of Halo lore and constant consistency together. The real answer is pretty much nothing. I mean, most people go by the Halo games. If it happened in a Halo game, then it definitely happened. Other people say that the stuff in the novels also happened, even though there's lots of contradictions. It's a very confusing situation, but if you don't let it frustrate you, it can actually bring up some pretty cool discussion like this video. Because ultimately, all of this conflicting information does mean that a lot of this is up to our own interpretation. General Kid pointed to evidence in the 6th mission in Halo Combat Evolved 343 Guilty Spark. If you start that mission on easy difficulty, near the Pelican, you will find a shotgun. These shotguns are specifically mentioned in the Halo lore novel, The Flood. So General Kid came to the conclusion that because they're mentioned in The Flood and they're only on easy difficulty, if you go on normal, heroic, or legendary, the shotguns will not be there. He concluded that easy difficulty is the canon difficulty. The biggest evidence against this is the fact that the Halo novel The Flood came out in 2003, when Halo Combat Evolved only came out in 2001. The author, William C. Dietz, also did a ton of other video game-based novels, like for StarCraft and Mass Effect. So what I think the man did is he played through Halo Combat Evolved on easy difficulty, and when we got to this section, he realized there were shotguns there, and he mentioned them in his book. The shotguns were probably just placed there in the first place to make easy difficulty, well, a little bit more easy. He also points out other evidence in the comment section of his video, where he talks about at the end of Halo Reach where Noble 6 is fighting a bunch of elites unshielded. He takes several direct bursts from plasma rifles to his body, and yeah, he's perfectly fine. On legendary difficulty, if you were to go toe-to-toe with an elite and you did not have any energy shields on, you would definitely die. And he's totally right. On legendary difficulty, the elites of Halo Reach can completely shred you, even from full shields. So the only explanation for this end cutscene where Noble 6 is taking a lot of fire is that the canon difficulty in Halo is easy. That isn't necessarily true. We're gonna have to look back to my original point where I said there's a lot of different canon evidence out there that isn't really connected in any real way. In fact, there's lore evidence that a Spartan 3 by the name of Dante G188 got shot multiple times with plasma rifles and took a needler explosion to the chest while dragging Fred from Blue Team in Halo 5 to safety. Later, he was asked if he got hit, and Dante just replied with, "Sir, I think I got nicked." Then he died. His torso was open and his organs were melted, but he lived for minutes. And this just points back to the insane training that Spartans have to go through. Also, all of the physical and chemical augmentations. So if Noble 6 in this cutscene's adrenaline was really pumping, even if he was playing against legendary elites, he probably could still live for a little bit. Even though we see him suffering wounds in this cutscene, and he might die later, he can still fight now. But this sort of still just points back to more inconsistencies in Halo. Sometimes Spartans are tanks, they can take as much fire as they want, but sometimes they die instantly. Like in this cutscene, Amel gets knifed in the back with an energy sword from an elite. I never understood how that elite was able to sneak up on him. For someone with enhanced reflexes, and a motion tracker, this elite has a lot of time to sneak up on email. I mean, Master Chief falls from space at the beginning of Halo 3. That's how Halo 3 starts. Hey guys, I fell from space. What's up? Oh, the Orbit is here now. Blah, the blasty. We can do this all day. We can go into every Halo lore novel, pull out a little piece of information about a Spartan's interaction with another elite, and try to say, look, here's the canon evidence that this difficulty is canon. Because I'm telling you, there are hundreds of those interactions. I could go into pretty much every Halo lore novel, pick out something, make a video on it, and say, this is the answer. But that's not the answer. The answer is too complicated. It doesn't exist, and it makes me sad. So if we can't look at specific examples, because that would just be a waste of time, because someone could also bring another specific example that completely contradicts you. If we can't look at specific examples, let's look at the broad range of Halo. Let's look at the general ideas on the surface of the game. And we're going to start with Reach this time, because while it's not the first Halo game to ever come out, chronologically it happens first. Sort of. Halo Wars happens first, but don't worry about it. I'm already having a difficult enough time formulating my points with the FPS Halo games. If you bring in the RTS Halo games, it's gonna get weird. Halo Reach is set before the events of Halo Combat Evolved on the planet Reach. The entire game is pretty much all of humanity on Reach being completely eradicated by the Covenant fleet. And Reach is a very relentless game. Even if you're playing on normal, there's a good chance that you could get killed. Now, if we look at the overarching lore of Halo Reach and the planet Reach in general, when the Covenant first invaded Reach, they came with a very powerful fleet. Their army had the best and most up-to-date equipment that allowed them to completely decimate all of humanity on Reach. They shredded through everything, Marines, tanks, Spartans, it didn't matter. So I think for a game like Halo Reach, maybe its lore is set to legendary difficulty. So your characters moving through the story, Noble 6, Emil, Cat, all of these people were playing on legendary difficulty. They were fighting strong elites that could kill them at any moment, and that actually happened to some of the characters. It makes sense that this game's canon difficulty is legendary. But then if we transition over to the first three Halo games, Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, and Halo 3, the original trilogy, there's a ton of evidence across the first three Halo games that show that the Covenant of Halo Reach was a much stronger Covenant than the Covenant of Halo 1, 2, and 3. In Halo 1, the Master Chief and UNSC are fighting a small proportion of the original Covenant fleet that took out Reach. So the actual number of Covenant in Halo 1 compared to Halo Reach is actually smaller. So you're fighting less Covenant overall, and those Covenant have less experience. By the end of Halo 2, the Covenant that we knew in Halo 1 was completely disbanded after a civil war which led to the Brutes being in charge of the military instead of the elites. And by the end of Halo 3, the Prophet of Truth, the leader of the Covenant, is killed.
I am Truth! The voice of the Covenant!
So, you must be silenced.
And throughout the first three Halo games, the Flood is ravaging both sides, the UNSC and the Covenant. And I think because of this, you could argue that the first three Halo games have a canon difficulty of Heroic. But again, this is just looking at the overarching themes of Halo. We're not picking out specifics here. Because like I said before, if you pick out specifics, things get a bit confusing and very contradictory. Now, as far as Halo 4 and 5 go, if we look at the overarching themes, the elites in these Halo games are even thinner than before. They're not a part of the original Covenant, they're a part of Julim Dama's Covenant. These are the stragglers. They're not going to be the most experienced elites, even the high-ranking ones. Notice how there's very few zealots and generals in Halo 4 and 5. It's mostly lower-ranking elites. Notice how easily at the start of Halo 4, Master Chief's able to just overpower this massive 8-foot-tall elite. But I think from these points, you could say that the elites of Halo 4 and 5 may have a canon difficulty that's lower than Heroic. The elites in these games pose much less of a threat, even on legendary difficulty. I've actually made a really cool series on it. You should check that out. Shameless self-promotion of a series that I do. It's really good. And I think you could sort of make the argument that you could even assign different canon difficulties to different missions in individual Halo games. To give you an example, let's look at the mission Truth and Reconciliation. In this mission, the basic overarching plot is that you have to get into the Truth and Reconciliation, this Covenant ship. In this sort of mission, you would expect the elites to be pretty well trained. They're guarding a ship, they're guarding a common access hole that they use to, transport supplies, weapons, that sort of thing. The Covenant here would be trained pretty well, and throughout this mission, you do see a lot of resistance. Tons of elites, grunts, jackals, even hunters. Tons of fortifications, like turrets leading up to this area. This is a pretty difficult fight, and the canon difficulty for this mission could be Heroic or Legendary. But if you look at a mission like Assault on the Control Room, where you're going around the back entrance, you probably wouldn't expect many guards to be back here. It's the back entrance, it's not going to be fortified, and you could say that the canon difficulty of this mission is maybe a little bit lower. If you really want to feel like you're playing on the hardest setting, just turn on some skulls. Even just turning on the Mythic and Thunderstorm skull will increase increase the elite's health and also give them the highest available promotion. Just putting on those two skulls can make your gameplay experience a lot harder and maybe a little bit more fun if you're, into that sort of thing. Basically, guys, there's no real answer when you're bringing up the discussion of which difficulty in Halo is the canon difficulty. There's just too many things out there, there's too many bits of lore that contradict each other, and there's too many things in the actual games that contradict each other. Tons of cutscenes and movies and novels and comics that just throw the discussion out the window. But if I had to make a general and broad statement across all of the Halo games, I would have to remain that heroic is the canon difficulty. Just think about it. Across every Halo game, set the difficulty to easy or normal, and you can basically take as much fire as you want. Here's a clip of me on easy in Halo 1, and I basically don't die. Whereas in most games on heroic difficulty, there's a fairly good chance that you could die if you don't play your cards right. If every Spartan in Halo played on the easy difficulty, they would all be left because they wouldn't die. But Spartans die all the time. Well, really, they just go missing in action. That was absolutely cringy, but I'm putting it in. Thank you all for watching my video. Please let me know in the comment section down below what you think about all of this. Is there any one Halo difficulty that you could say is the overarching canon difficulty for all of the Halo games? I mean, I kind of in this whole video said multiple times that there was no canon difficulty, but I think it's kind of interesting to see what you would put it at if you had to. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I make tons of Halo videos just like this one. You can click that logo in the left, that LTN logo. And if you'd like to figure out which Halo game has the strongest elites, you can click the video on the right. My name's LukeTheNotable. I want all of you to stay notable, and I will see you in the next video.